What's up, everybody? Hope y'all are all doing well. My name's Anthony. On today's video, we are going to have more of a discussion. Might turn to a rant. I'm going to try to avoid doing so, but you know, things happen. And we're going to be talking about where I see things going and what I'm doing about it. So stay tuned. That's right, today we're going to be talking about where I see things going and what I'm planning to do about all of it. And basically, if you've been a part of this channel for the last 5 years and some change, yes, I've had this channel going for over 5 years. I can't believe it myself. But we have basically been showing on this channel how to do things. You know, I'm much more of a action kind of person. I like to do things. I don't like to just sit here and talk about stuff unless it's something that's like, I just can't really, show you how to do it. It's just kind of the way things work. But for the most part, I like to try to show proof of concept versus just talking, pontificating, that kind of thing about what if scenarios. I don't like what if scenarios. I like to try to think about things as they're happening and at least come up with a game plan. So that's what today's video is going to be about. I basically, if you remember maybe 3-4 years ago, I'll put that video up here, I talked about what I saw was going to happen being the slow collapse. When I say slow collapse, I mentioned inflation. I saw inflation going to be kicking up and it's going to be pricing people out and putting people into a hurting scenario. And guess what? 3-4 years later, I was right. Now, I do have to admit the fact that I didn't think it was going to happen that fast. And that alone scares me. I thought it was going to take like 10 years, not 3. But, you know, some things just happen, and this is what happens when you don't take elections seriously. Now, am I going to sit here and put the blame all on one side? Absolutely not, because I think everybody's to blame. As a matter of fact, if there was a giant sinkhole that happened to swallow the entirety of DC, I think we as a population would be better for it. But that's just not going to happen, unfortunately. So we have to think about things and how we can try to take care of ourselves and basically make sure our families are as best prepared for what may be happening. Now, my last video highlighted the reason why I started this lifestyle to begin with. The biggest issue I had was the fact that our food system, even 10 years ago, was becoming so corrupted that I just couldn't stand it anymore, and I had to make a drastic change in lifestyle. Yes, I would much rather live in, say, like a neighborhood and be one of those guys that can just sit there with my collecting hobbies and not really care too much about what's going on around me. But that's just not the world we live in, and we have to pay attention to what's actually going on. So if you're one of those people that's waking up or has woken up a long time ago, congratulations, you're on the right path. Last video I talked all about the food system and the things that they're doing. I have another video coming out talking about the rest of the stuff, but the main 5 topics I talked about in that past video, you can go check behind this one and you'll see it. But those are the ones that made me start this lifestyle, okay? I didn't start the lifestyle because I wanted to be some militia leader or some crazy leader of, the resurgence or revolution or whatever, tactical things going on these days. I basically started because, in my personal opinion, self-reliance is the best form of protest because it allows you to take care of yourself and they can't control me. Not to mention, when you grow your own food, it's like printing money. But even I have to admit where I see things going and the direction we're heading is not a good one, okay? Basically, the way I look at it in terms of the grand scheme of things, I'm not trying to get political here, but the election cycle is one of the things that just really defines this country. For some reason, every 4 years, things go incredibly insane, and we look to one person to fix all of it. Which is not the case, obviously, but that's just the way things are. So being that 2024 is another election year, I expect things to get worse, unfortunately. I do think that the administration currently is going to try to make everything look as rosy as possible, which will make everything actually worse, because when you ignore a problem and try to make it look good, all it does is compound the problem. It's kind of like whenever you're like bodybuilding or you're lifting weights and you keep track of a journal and you maybe fudge the numbers a little bit. It's like, oh, I lifted 10 pounds more. Well, then 6 months later, when you do your real, 1 rep max, and you're like, wow, I haven't moved at all. It's because you lied, and you really have moved 10 pounds, but you can't really tell because you lied. I think that's the same issue here we're seeing with our government in terms of, like, say, the job numbers, the GDP, and just the overall amount of the overall health of the economy. The true facts are, whether someone wants to admit it or not, credit card debt is at an all-time high, easily blowing by anything we've ever seen before, and car delinquency, like car loan delinquencies, have hit a level that we have not seen since 2010, right during the Great Recession of 2008, 2009, 10. We kind of felt it till 2012. So we're seeing a resurgence in that. We're seeing that come back into play, and I don't think things are going to get better soon. Even if your chosen candidate gets elected, I think we have a long road ahead of us, because there's going to be the other side that wants power, and they're going to make the other side to them look worse just because. And unfortunately, when you have two sides that hate each other as much as they do, the people in the middle lose. Actually, everybody loses. So you have to find a way to handle what's going to happen. And personally, my opinion, I think things are going to get worse. I think we're going to see a steadily, whatever. I think we're going to see a decline in the money supply. Inflation is going to get worse because we keep giving money to people like Ukraine, Israel. I think we are going to see delinquencies not only in car notes but in mortgages. I think we're going to see more banks fail. I think we're going to see buyouts of other places, other bigger corporations, which further consolidate the market, making monopolies that much worse. I think we're going to see people who couldn't afford a place to live, barely renting. I think we're going to see them really priced out of a lot of the markets, and you're going to see a mass movement into housing developments, like not say housing developments, but like condos, you know, multi-family housing, maybe duplexes, you know, townhomes, things like that. I think we're going to see a mass America move to those, and you're going to see a lot of rural America being suburbanized. All this is going to basically be leading into the fact that they're going to do, when I say they, I mean like the One World Party, the Uniparty, One World Government, whatever you want to call it, are going to be doing exactly what they said they're going to do. You're going to own nothing, and you'll be happy. So you're going to see companies, BlackRock, investment trusts, buying up whole swaths of housing, never, ever, ever selling it ever again. They will be renting. You already see it now. You see 40% of certain cities' housing markets controlled by them. And I mean, of course it's going to happen whenever you have people selling their homes to move somewhere else, and they sell to the highest bidder. Who do you think the highest bidder is? Someone who's not playing with their own money. They're playing with an investment trust money. Of course they're going to outbid everyone else. They can. They have the resources to do so. So I think that's what we're seeing now. So you're going to see a lot of people who don't own anything anymore. And since they don't own anything anymore, they don't have the will to care for it. You ever seen a renter when they rent a house? They don't care about the house. 90% of the time, they don't care about the look like of the house. They don't care about the house taken care of because they don't own it. And if you've ever rented to somebody, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I think we're going to see a further delineation between the rich and the poor. I think the middle class is going to be evaporating that much more. It's already vanishing. We've already seen a shrinking of the middle class faster than we ever have in this country when it became something during World War II. So now I think we're seeing that we've already gone past that peak of the middle class, and we've definitely been on the downward slope for a little while now. But I think we're going to see a further widening of the gap to the point where the ultimate solution for them is the extreme haves and the extreme have-nots, the lords and the peasants. I think that's where we're headed, unfortunately. So that's why I live this lifestyle, to try to help my family avoid that. Now, I'm sure some of y'all are watching, well, why can't I be one of the lords or one of the wealthy? Because it's just the system's against you. It's rigged against you. They don't want you to be part of the wealthy. They want to consolidate the wealthy. That's why they're kicking so many of the upper middle class and lower upper class out. Okay, they're turning on people. They don't want you to have the power. So the only way to truly win this game is to not play the game. So that means don't take on any unnecessary debt, because debt is the number one way that they're going to control you. Have a plan, have multiple plans to be able to get out of situations. If you may be in a horrible job market, or you may be in an area that is being bought up and all the rents are being pushed up in New York City, and you have really nowhere else to go, you might want to think about moving somewhere else. It's also one of those things where you got to start thinking about the ways of controlling people in general. In terms of control, the biggest motivators for controlling someone are going to be the healthcare system and the food system, because those are two things that you really need. Okay, the education systems, yeah, sure, but homeschooling has seen a humongous resurgence since COVID. So the education system is kind of whatever, but the housing system as well. If you can control your own destiny in terms of the housing system, the healthcare system, and the food system, then they really can't do what most countries do when they roll out this system. Think of China, think of North Korea, think of ways that they control their populations. The big one now is controlling what you see online and making social profiles. And I'll be delving into that subject in further videos because it's one of those things that I never really paid too much attention to this last couple of years, and it's really frightening at how far things have really become in such a short amount of time, especially with AI. So I'll be talking about that in future videos, but that's just one thing that you also need to be paying attention to. So anyway, I know I've talked about for the last couple minutes about the problems I see, but I want to try to give some solutions and what I'm doing to try to stem and stymie these issues from affecting my family personally. So when it comes down to the three things that I had mentioned, housing, food, and healthcare, what am I doing to try to give myself a buffer from having some sort of issues? I don't rent, number one, okay? Renting it's okay depending on what your situation is, but I've seen, especially lately, I've seen a major increase in people that were renting, sometimes for years, all of a sudden being told, hey, my house sold and now my new landlord wants me out. They're not renewing my lease and I got to find somewhere else to live. I've seen it happen to quite a few people recently, so I don't have to worry about that problem because I'm a homeowner. Also, I have a few months of my mortgage saved up just in case something happens, the money supply stops. I can still pay my mortgage for a few months to give myself a little bit of time. Now on to healthcare. In my personal opinion, healthcare is one of the biggest controlling factors, and it's all age dependent, okay? Obviously, as you get older, you are going to need more access to healthcare, but it also depends on how you're treating yourself now, okay? A lot of people leading sedentary lifestyles wonder why they have issues, circulation. A lot of people living unhealthy lifestyles, eating whatever the heck they want, not exercising, having cardiovascular issues, that kind of thing, popping up slowly over time. You can kind of mitigate a lot of those if you just take care of yourself. And that's the kind of thing I'm trying to mention here with healthcare. You want to take care of yourself and you want to do things preventatively instead of after the fact. So when I say preventatively, I'm talking about there's three sides to healthcare. You got eyes, mouth, body. If you take care of your eyes, you obviously go through annual eye exams because they don't let you go past annually. You want to take care of your teeth. Don't want to let anything kind of go if you have a cavity. You know, the worst thing you want to do is have a cavity go so bad you need a root canal and it's throbbing and it's the beginning of a holiday weekend. Ask me how I know that, because I cracked a tooth on Thanksgiving a couple years ago and I had to wait 4 days to even go see a doctor. It's the worst 4 days ever. So you want to take care of your teeth, and you also want to take care of your body. And if you watch my channel, you know that I've been trying to do so by doing a lot of herbal meds. Herbal medications only go so far, okay? If you do herbal medicine, you have to understand that it's more or less preventatively. Yes, there are certain things that you can find in the wilderness, things that you can plant, things that you can make yourself that do act as good, if not better than prescriptions. But some things, it's just a lot easier and more effective if you get a prescription. But the whole purpose is trying to avoid all that stuff. So if you can avoid the entire healthcare system, ACEs, that's what I'm shooting for. So that's why I'm trying to take care of a general health approach to my family. Finally, one of the last ways that they can control you is your food. Your food being one of the most important because you need to eat constantly. If you don't eat, then you're not going to survive. So by being able to take control of your food system, your own food system, that is going to benefit you immensely because you won't be having to sit there waiting for a handout at a FEMA camp, okay, or looking for someone to feed you. You can take care of yourself. Congratulations, you've taken care of a lot of the issues. Now, if you've been watching the channel for any length of time, you know what I already have in terms of my food system set up, i.e. I have chickens, I got a garden, but I've done some work in the last 6 months, basically ever since the end of summer where I can actually go outside and do some stuff. I've done a lot of work actually, and I wanted to kind of show you what I've been doing to maybe give you some inspiration and something you can do for yourself. All right, so now one of the first things that I've been doing to try to help my food supply is to increase the wildlife holding and ability to feed capacity on my property. This is where I hunt. Obviously, you see the feeder right there. I feed all year round. I don't just feed during the hunting season. That way deer come to my property religiously. So whenever hunting season starts, I don't have to worry about trying to draw a herd from somewhere else. They're already coming through here. So if a herd's coming through here, then the bucks are going to follow. Simple math. Yes, it sucks having to put in 1 bag of corn every single month, but it's only, what, $11? Small expense to pay for the fact that you're going to be getting deer coming to your property constantly. I've also opened up the canopy. I'm also continuing to open the canopy. As you can see by that pine tree that fell in a direction I didn't quite want it to, in between a few trees. so it hasn't quite hit the ground yet. I'll be rectifying that situation more, but I'll be cutting a few more of these back away so I can get more sunlight to the ground to create more browsing habitat for the deer. Another example of something I've been doing to try to increase my food holding capacity capabilities has been I've been doing controlled burns. Yes, controlled burns are a requirement if you want to have a healthy property, but it also stymies invasives. But the main reason is because it allows for more sunlight to hit the ground, lets the seeds germinate, and again brings more wildlife here. If I can bring more wildlife by burning, cutting some trees, opening up sunlight to the ground, that's only going to bring in more deer for me, turkeys, wild game, possibilities to feed the family. Here's another thing that I've done to try to take off some of the pressure of providing food for the family. I've started to cultivate my own mushrooms. Instead of having to go out day after day, hiking, walking, looking around, if I can grow some, these are oysters, then even better. Mushrooms are not very big in calories, at least in most of them, but they do make up for a lot of trace minerals and a lot of health aspects. So again, we're going to go back to that healthcare system. Some mushrooms are very medicinal. They help your body run better, and a lot of them will give you protein. So it's another source of protein if you can grow your own mushrooms. Something else that I've done, obviously behind me, is I've added some new fencing to the garden. I have expanded my garden yet again versus last year where I expanded 10 feet at one section and kind of made it a little bit diagonal. So I got myself about an extra, 180 square feet last year, which actually worked out pretty well. I was able to grow my sunflowers and a whole bunch of beans. Well, this year I've decided to fence off even more because of my grapes. My grapevines did amazingly. The problem is when they got to right about time where I wanted to eat them, the deer came and demolished half of them overnight. I didn't realize deer could stay on their hind legs and get as high as they did. My fault. So I decided to fence it temporarily. That worked until the end of the season. I decided to make it permanently this year. And since I was, putting out the new fence permanently, I decided to add myself another section. As you can see, I got 10 feet here, about 20 more feet that way. So that's looking about 200 extra square feet of growing space. So I'll be able to put in a few new beds right there, right in front of the grapes. As long as I keep things growing shorter, I don't have to worry about them shading out the grapes, and I'll be fine. That's a whole bunch more growing space for food. On that same note, I've decided to plant a few more fruit trees because I want to make sure that I have the best possible ability to produce all of my own fruit throughout the course of the year. I do not like buying fruit. It costs way too much and you don't know what you're getting in terms of dirtiness. As you can tell by my last video, my rooster says hi. So I made sure to plant a few more trees. This one's a pear tree, a moonglow pear. I got a plum over there. I got a few more elderberries and a bunch more blueberries. Finally, I will be adding more to the flock. This flock is kind of getting older, I guess you could say. Hell, one of the hens in here is probably about 8 years old. But the other ones are about 3 to 4 when they start slowing down production. So I'm going to probably add another 4 hens in here just to make sure that I have a constant supply of eggs because, again, I've had a drought over the course of the wintertime because they go molting and it's their natural off season. But if you have new hens under the age of 1.5 and they lay all throughout the winter, they don't have to worry about that natural off cycle. So I'm going to go ahead and add a few more hens this year just to make sure that I got more egg production so I don't have to worry about that problem. So as you can see, I've been kind of busy since fall season has started. I can actually get outside and work again, but I am not done. I still have a whole bunch more things I would like to get done on the term of livestock. Yes, I'm going to be adding more chickens, but I'm also looking to add things like rabbits and or ducks. I'm doing my due diligence now, doing some research. I've been picking the brain of Ontario Homestead to try to help me understand if I want to do rabbits like I think I want to do. Just the heat is the only thing that's really getting to me. They don't like the heat here. It gets way too hot and humid, so I got to figure out a way to keep them cool if I don't have electricity. So that's the main thing I'm toying with there. Ducks, don't have to worry about that problem, but they are messy. Had ducks before, they are messy, so yeah, I want to make sure that if I'm doing ducks again, I think of a better system to keep things cleaner, so I don't have to worry about the nastiness that is associated with ducks. I'll probably be adding meat breeds this time, not just an egg layer like pecans, because I don't like them, and I'll probably be adding things like Muscovies if I do that. Also, I have decided to get a hold of a few farmers. I got family who raises pigs. Other parts of the family are going to be raising beef, cows, which I'll be able to get a quarter or half a steer. I'm getting a half a pig in the next 2 months. So I'm getting that directly from them. I'm avoiding going to the grocery store. I'm setting up systems now to ensure that I have a steady food supply of meat that I'm not growing myself. Everybody can do that. If you just talk to people, ask people, find areas that people have livestock they're growing, and instead of having them sell to processors, if you can buy part of the animal and then process it for yourself, you can buy half a cow take it to the processor, and they're, you know, since you own the cow, they're processing it for you. They don't have to be USDA certified because it's not selling to the public. It's selling to you. It's giving back to you. You're processing your own cow. So that's the way you do it. It doesn't have to be a cow. It can be a goat, lamb, pig, whatever. Just, that's the idea you need to think about if you are looking for a meat source. Okay, so that is my solution to the 3 traditional forms of control. Now, you notice I didn't mention one very important one, and it's financial control, because it is it's one of those subjects, number one, that no one likes to hear, especially from my age. The last thing someone wants to hear, especially if they're older than me, is having a 37-year-old tell them how to spend their own money. Most people don't like that. They don't appreciate that. So that's why when I do financial videos, they usually don't get a lot of play because it's not my place. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not your financial advisor, so that's why I didn't mention a lot of things. I can only tell you what I'm doing, and basically that means getting out of debt, keeping a whole bunch of cash stashed away to make sure that you can still pay your debts if something happens, and I'm keeping a lot of things out of banks because, quite frankly, with the way the bank failures keep going, yes, most of my stuff is going to be FDIC insured. It doesn't mean that it's going to be insured if things really, you know, kind of go downhill. So I keep cash on hand, I keep other assets on hand, and that's kind of the main thing I wanted to mention, is the fact that I'm trying to steer away from traditional investments in terms of like stocks. Yes, I still invest in the stock market, I still have a Roth IRA, I still do all that stuff, but I'm trying to get more hard assets like land, you know, physical gold, physical silver, and other things that you can sell liquid if I need it, you know, money really fast. So that's the things I'm trying to play with right now. I want to make sure that I have my resources scattered all about. That way, if something happens, I have a soiree, a big party of things to pick from. I think that's going to about do it for me for this video. I'm sure this video is long enough. I don't know how far I'm going to cut this one down, but as you can see, I really didn't do any planning for this video. This video is basically straight off the cuff. You're seeing how my mind works, and basically I'm just trying to show y'all what I'm preparing for and what I see happening. I really hope I'm wrong in terms of a lot of things, but since it's an election year, I am participating, or I'm expecting the worst to happen. And if things go the way that I think they're going, they will get worse. So hopefully, if you can think about the ways that the uniparty, the one world government, or whatever is going to try to control you, you can mitigate those factors by doing things and taking care of yourself your own way. So if you can do any of the things that I mentioned in this video, I'm just basically telling you what I'm doing. If you can do any of those, then it's going to be better for you, and you're going to be able to avoid having to deal with the idiocy that is coming. So with all that being said, if you liked anything at all from this video, do me a humongous favor and give this one a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you are not, and I'll catch y'all later, okay? Bye.